In this video, I want to tell you what to look out for when getting a quote for having your kitchen resprayed and what we have to offer that other companies don't. Now, if you're looking to have your UPVC doors and windows resprayed rather than a kitchen, it's still worthwhile watching this. It'll only take a few minutes and it'll give you a good idea of how we operate as a company. If you've already had several quotes, they'll fall into one of two camps. On one hand, we have companies who will promise to do the job in a day and charge you a lower price. And on the other, we have companies who say it'll take 3, 5, I've even heard of 10 days, but who want to charge you a lot more. So let's look at this second camp first. Now, you may have been told they'll take your cabinet doors away to their workshop where they'll receive half a dozen coats in a temperature controlled spraying booth before being baked in a kiln of some sort. Well, all that might be true, but the reality is that the paints we all use nowadays are so advanced, a coat of primer and 2 top coats are all that's needed. Anything more is a waste of the sprayer's time and your money. And your doors certainly don't need to be baked in a kiln to dry. It won't add anything to the durability of the finish. The real reason the process takes so long is that it's pretty inefficient. Typically, they lay a door flat and spray one side and then place it in a drying rack until it's dry before turning it over and doing the same to the reverse. Now, with 15 or more doors and half a dozen coats, you can just imagine how long all this takes. I'm hesitant to say it, but sometimes I think they take so long to enable them to ratchet the price up. And the other disadvantage, of course, is that you're without a fully functional kitchen for the 3, 5, or 10 days that the doors are away. Now, at the other end of the scale, you have the advantage that everything's done and dusted in a day and it costs a lot less, but you have to be careful that they're not cutting corners in some way. Maybe slapdash masking, because that actually can take longer than the spraying, so it's an obvious corner to cut. Maybe using old or cheap spraying equipment, maybe spraying the doors without taking them off the hinges, maybe using inferior paint, maybe not bothering to use primer so that the finish looks great at the end of the afternoon but won't last more than a couple of years before it starts flaking off. If that happens, good luck in chasing up that 10-year guarantee you've been given. Now, the other big downside of having your doors sprayed in situ, the cabinets obviously have to be done where they are, but the doors are another matter, is the potential smell and mess if the job isn't done properly. Because if the sprayer isn't skilled or the equipment is old, there's always the risk of overspray, which is why doing the masking up properly is so critical. Any fine molecules of paint that end up in the air instead of on your doors can take days to settle. Now, what we call airless compressors are particularly bad at this. They fire out solid sprays of 100% paint that can be difficult to control. Now, at Super Spray Liverpool, unless your kitchen's significantly larger than average, we'll finish it in a day, but we'll do it without any of the disadvantages. Firstly, using top quality paint specifically designed for the job will give everything a base of primer and then 2 top coats. With the speciality paints we use, you simply don't need half a dozen coats, take it from me. Our 10-year guarantee isn't just the paint manufacturer's guarantee being passed on to you, it covers our work as well, not just the paint. Now, that's also something to ask. When you're getting a quote, many companies simply pass on the paint manufacturer's guarantee so the paint's covered, but not the cost of any rework. With us, it is. Now, secondly, we use what are called HVLP compressors, which stands for high volume, low pressure. This is newer technology than the airless compressors I've mentioned, and because it mixes the paint 50-50 with air, this means you've got less paint being blasted into your kitchen and hence less chance of overspray, and it also means you get a much finer, smoother finish on your doors and cabinets. Thirdly, just like the companies that take several days, we remove your doors and spray them in a spray booth, but instead of taking them off site to do it, we bring a small spray booth to you and set it up in your kitchen, garage, or even the garden if weather permits. Now, this means 90% of the paint spray is localized inside this booth, eliminating the risk of spray eventually settling somewhere you don't want it. Plus, we use an extractor fan to remove any overspray and reduce the smell of paint. And fourthly, the reason we can do all of this in a day without cutting corners is that instead of spraying one side of a cabinet door and then placing it on a drying rack to dry before we turn it over and do the other side, which, as I've already said, is an unnecessarily lengthy process, we hang the doors in the booth vertically and spray both sides at the same time before then hanging them to dry in a dust-free portable drying booth we bring along with us. This saves us a huge amount of time. So you get all the benefits of having everything done in one day, but none of the disadvantages. And the good news is we don't charge any extra. Now, many companies refuse to put any prices on their website or Facebook page and just say to contact them for a quote. And there are fair reasons for that. You can't really give an accurate quote without seeing the kitchen. But that doesn't mean you can't give people an idea of what it'll cost. So as a guideline to help you out, this is what it'll cost you approximately. Just pause the video here, count up what you have in the kitchen, and you can do the calculation. But I must stress that the price won't be definite until we've actually seen your kitchen. I hope this video has been both interesting and useful. If you decide not to use us and to go with somebody else, I hope that I've helped and that everything goes perfectly and you're over the moon with your new kitchen. But hopefully, we will see you soon.